All right, yo, welcome everybody. We made it to Friday. It's here. It's a little crappy outside, but all that matters is we're here. That's what we're alive and kicking. Yeah. All right, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Yo. What's going on? Hope you guys I hope you had a great week so far. I know it's been a little crappy outside. We go from like cold, crappy weather to cooler or high 40s, low 50s, rainy, crappy weather. So from like crappy weather to crappy weather, but from ice to just rain. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's fitting. It's fitting, right? Especially with the subject matter of today's live show. Yeah. All right. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Don't forget, tomorrow I'm going to be live with these fine gentlemen right here. Don't Read the Comments podcast with Travis and Tim. We're going to watch the game alongside you guys. It's a watch party, whatever. You know where to find us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you hop over to their YouTube channel. We're going to record a podcast tonight, actually. We're going to record a podcast tonight. No idea what the subject matter is going to be there, but it's always fun. It's always fun. My goal tomorrow, because we like to drink on the show, so I'm sure we're going to take some shots. We've got to be sober for a post-game show, and I got to be sober enough to drive home. But I have a feeling we're going to want to drink away our sorrow because Kentucky in town along with game day. So, yeah, man. I want you guys to tell me the title of this live show is Arkansas versus Kentucky. How bad can this get? So I want you guys, fill me in. Again, make sure you like, share, subscribe. We're a little early this morning, so again, if you're watching this later on, you didn't make the live show, but you're still here watching, please do the same. Like, share, and again, if you're a part of the whatever the percentage is, I think it's like 30% of the people who watch this content are not subscribed. Maybe you'll consider subscribing. So again, tomorrow, watch party. Don't miss. It's going to be a lot of fun. Some of you guys in Discord are cracking me up. First Son, what's up, Wyatt? How you doing? In Fayetteville, working today looks like Seattle up here. I'm telling you, man, it's just so depressing. It is just very depressing. I'm ready for like I like mid 50s with a slight breeze and sunshine. That's my preferred. Like I'm a cool weather kind of guy. I'm a fall weather kind of guy, but there's got to be some sunlight and no moisture. No rain, please. For the love of God. And yet here we are. So yeah, we are live a little early, but I do appreciate you guys. We don't have a ton of stuff on the agenda list or on the list of things to talk about. There's not a lot other than this game. I thought we might have something recruiting related, and I told you guys in the post-game show on Wednesday, I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about, but we're going to have a live show, and so here we are. We're just going to have to talk about this beatdown, I guess. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to fire away. If Arkansas could slow down the game like South Carolina did, they may hang around a little. Yeah. You're not yeah. It's a good point. Sean Sanders says Kentucky 90, Arkansas 75. We put up a fight in the first, but they pull away in the second. Thank you, Sean. Caden Jowers, I think the Hogs can keep it within 25 points. Yeah, so, I mean, listen, I still think Auburn is – I still think they're the best team in the SEC. Like, my power poll, I have them at number one. It's not a strong number one, but I think they're number one. All right, they went on the road, came back down, 15, 14 points at halftime at Alabama, and they managed to make it a game. I thought I could pull up their, I guess not. Anyways, Auburn is still my power poll number one. but Kentucky has an argument to be somewhere in the top 3. They are. So let's go down the list here. The SEC standings. Auburn is 5-1. Alabama's 5-1. Auburn could have won that game. I mean, again, coming back from a pretty big deficit there. Again, that was Auburn at Alabama. That was a very fascinating ending, 79-75. There was that big foul on the Auburn. I forgot who shot that 3, but he gets to the free throw line, and he's able to close the gap, and we had a ball game. It was a lot of fun. But Auburn, again, 5-1, 16-3 overall. Alabama, 5-1, 13-6 overall. Tennessee, 4-1 at 14-4 overall. And how about South Carolina? 4-2 in conference play, but they're 16-3. And they're tied for the best overall record with Auburn. So, like, South Carolina's got to be in that conversation, especially considering they beat Kentucky. Even if it was at home, they beat Kentucky. They took care of business against Kentucky. And so, like, you have to look at this game, right? They took care of business, man. 79-62. They pulled away. And we're going to go into that game a little bit more. In the second half, though, they just went off, and it was at home. I wouldn't say Kentucky's like a bad road team. I mean, my God, again, they've only got 4 losses so far in the year. Again, they're 4-2 in conference. But they have lost at A&M, who's not been they've definitely been disappointing this year. Okay, they're 3-3 in conference, 12-7 overall. They're nowhere near where I thought they would be. I had them in my top 3, top 4 coming into the regular season, not just conference play, but I mean, like, before preseason, I had them in my top 4. They've not been good. We know they traveled to they have a loss to Arkansas. I mean, that's how bad things are with A&M right now, right? And by the way, A&M, they've won their last 2. They went on the road against LSU and Missouri. But anyway, South Carolina, they're now on their 2-game win streak. They've scored at least 77 points in their last 2 games. They've scored 69 or more in their last 4 games. They're averaging about 75 points a game the last few games. And, yeah, they went on the road. South Carolina was at home. Kentucky was the visiting team. They nailed these guys. And so it kind of makes you wonder, can they do something similar? Well, that's if you believe that Arkansas and South Carolina are on the same level. We know – we talk about it with every show. Where the hell's my cigar? We talk about it on every show that Arkansas at their best, they can beat Purdue. They can beat Duke. Probably should have beat Memphis. Right? There was a time where, like, okay, yeah, all right, they lost to North Carolina, took care of business because North Carolina, we believed at the time, was maybe a really, really high caliber team. Okay, understandable. And then you move forward. A little while later, you have the Oklahoma game, which is, to me, a very telling game. But I wouldn't have guessed Arkansas would start off this bad. So here we are. You know, Arkansas and South Carolina are not on the same level. They're playing. I mean, we already have a game that's been decided, right? I mean, they went into Fayetteville and they won 77-64. It was never really a ball game, especially again in the second half. South Carolina's been a very good second half team, apparently. Both against Kentucky at home and on the road against Arkansas, they tore it apart. So who the hell does Arkansas, like, who do they, in terms of just what their roster is, and from start, like, I'm talking about the individual level, whether they're transfers, whether it's Bayfall and Blocker, the freshmen, when you look up and down their roster, again, coming into the season, I mean, Southeastern 14 was telling you this. SEC Network was telling you this. Of course, I already mentioned, we've mentioned Blake Level on here multiple times. He's a friend of the show. He's come on from time to time. This was a legit top 3 roster in the SEC. At their best, they really should be on the level of, Tennessee. They should be well above, you would think, South Carolina, Georgia, these teams that have already taken care of business, Florida against Arkansas. Let me toast this bad boy. Hang on. We're going to toast this cigar. talent-wise, individually, obviously they should be way better than what they are. And, I mean, that's stating the obvious. I get it. What the hell's going on? Is there something behind the scenes in the locker room? Is it something to do with the coaching staff turnover? Why are they as bad as they are? Why are they in the neighborhood of, when you think about bad teams in this league right now are not playing great ball? Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Missouri, and Arkansas. LSU slowly starting to look like who we thought they were. Texas A&M, like I already mentioned, they're probably a bottom 4 team that should be talent-wise, I think, one of the top 5, top 6 teams in the SEC. But what the hell is going on at Arkansas where we're looking back on this and we're going, we kind of saw this coming even before the Oklahoma game. Maybe not this bad, but in terms of where their wins and losses are, I think going into the Oklahoma game, had I told you guys, listen, we're going to start off the first 6 or 7 games, they're going to have just one conference win, I don't think many of you would have been shocked. What has happened since even going back to Memphis, where he lost a game by 5 points against a very competitive Memphis team? You got hammered by North Carolina, who at the time was top 15 in the country. It was kind of understandable. Again, we all thought North Carolina was a lot better than their rank. But then you turn around, you win your next 2. You beat a top 10 Duke team. You take care of business against Furman, and then you just get juked by Oklahoma in a score that does not reflect the actual game. And then you win 3 straight. It's like we were talking about the inconsistency of this team, and now they've just been consistently bad outside. And I would argue that A&M game was, I mean, I get it, we'll take a pretty loss any day of the week. You like that you were able to break that 3-game conference losing streak. But it's just been mostly garbage in SEC play by Arkansas. I am wondering if this is a deeper root issue, if maybe it is the assistant turnover. Maybe it is the just complete, Musselman says, listen, we had a massive roster turnover, and that's hard to do, to lose all these guys. This is kind of, although, well, it's not fair because Kentucky's never, I don't know that Kentucky's been this level of bad, but Kentucky has to deal with this a lot. Calipari, that's some of the criticism about Calipari at Kentucky, is the amount of roster turnover, because every year he's having to replace 3 guys, if not more, that are going pro. And he has really failed to live up to that, to what he did early on in his time at Kentucky. He has failed to live up to that, although this team this year, I mean, they could have multiple lottery picks. It's looking like they will have multiple lottery picks. This could get bad. And again, I'm asking you guys, how bad can this be tomorrow? Don't forget that. I might even make a poll here in a second or whatever. But I think there's a deeper rooted issue here. I don't think it's a talent thing. This was you're talking about Bayfall and Blocker coming in as freshmen, highly touted, 4 stars, who may have dropped a little bit in their rankings, but very good players. And then there's this recruiting or the transfer class that was considered top 5 by most recruiting services, top 5 in the country, not the SEC, top 5 in the country. And you have I think it's kind of like, I do think there's something deeper. I do think there's something going on in the locker room. I think there could be some toxicity somewhere. But it always seems like we hear about that. We don't hear about that stuff until things are bad. Until you're 1-5 in conference play, and then all of a sudden you start hearing about, there's toxicity. It's very convenient, right? It kind of goes back to the football season, right? Like, apparently these guys were toxic. Yeah, they were probably toxic after they had just one conference game, after they got their asses handed to them to some very average football teams. Yeah, then things got toxic when things got bad. So I don't know how much of it is that. I don't think this is a sheer talent thing. I really don't. Now, you can also speak to the evaluation. There's some things you cannot evaluate on film, and that's, of course, it's team chemistry. So, I think it's kind of all the above with Arkansas. So, Kentucky's good. Right now, matchup predictor, 71.5. They are 14-4 overall, 4-2 in conference play. Coming off, they got their asses handed to them by South Carolina, especially in the second half. I've watched Kentucky play a little bit this year. In fact, they're probably between them and I've watched Missouri a little bit, and Auburn I've watched a lot because they're just kind of fun to watch. But Kentucky offensively, if you just look at just the base numbers here, they're one of the highest scoring teams in the country. 80, almost 90 points a game. That's second overall in the country according to ESPN. They're a decent rebounding team. They're just right outside, the 100s. Again, if you're in the top 150, if you're from like 140 to like in the 60s, you're okay. You're all right. You're kind of vanilla. You're not good. You're not great. You're not elite. You're all right. So they're kind of a vanilla rebounding team, and they average about 38 boards a game. So that means against Arkansas, they'll probably end up with about 50. They're high assist, and if you watch them play, they do move the ball really well. They got this kid from Croatia. I can't pronounce his damn name, but he's he's a potential lottery pick. Zvimir Ifashik. I can't say this dude's name. They call him Big Z. I was watching a broadcast, and they called him Big Z. He's only played a couple of games. I don't know if he's averaging just 13 minutes, but 8 points, 4 boards. Go watch some of his highlights from Croatia. He is something interesting. But yeah, so let's look at Kentucky. What the hell happened with South Carolina? South Carolina did slow the game down. They slowed it down. Kentucky's a very good transition team. That should spell trouble for you right there. They get a lot of points in transition. They get a lot of points points in fast break points. They get a lot of fast break points. But if you look at this, they get out rebounded +3 here. South Carolina does. They get, Wright comes off the bench and gets 14 points for South Carolina. Cooper with 20, Johnson with 14. So two of their starting 5 ended up in double digits. They had 5 steals, 6 blocks, just 9 turnovers to Kentucky's 8. But shooting 48% helps. But here was the nail in the coffin for Kentucky. It was South Carolina's ability outside. And this is where, again, Arkansas doesn't have the capacity to slow the game down like South Carolina does. I mean, vintage Eric Musselman would. A vintage, 2021 Arkansas basketball team could absolutely slow this game down. This team can't. We've not seen it. This is one of the worst defenses I've ever seen at Arkansas. I mean, it is so bad. But South Carolina slowed the game down, and then they shot almost 46% on 24 three-point attempts. They knocked down 11 threes. That's a lot of points out in the perimeter, man. 10 of 14 at the free throw line, 12 offensive boards, which tied Kentucky, 24 defensive. And yeah, they moved the ball around really well, 20 assists to just 9 turnovers. I mean, they just played really good, sound basketball. They just wrecked Kentucky out in the perimeter. Kentucky's defense is mid. Let's be real. It's not great. It's nothing to write home about. It's why I have a hard time believing they're a top 6 team. Their defense just struggles. Now, they're going to be – I don't know what the capacity is going to be for Bud Walton. I don't know how many people – capacity is the wrong word. I don't know how many people actually show up to this game. Razorback fans, listen, there is still excitement around this game because it is still Kentucky. Game day is going to be there. I'm sure they're regretting that right now, but maybe not. Arkansas, Kentucky is always – there's been some fantastic games played between these two. And the crowd, if they show up – listen, if you've got 5,000 people inside Bud Walton, it can get pretty damn loud, I would know. But then you're talking probably somewhere between 10 and 12, 10 and 13 show up, and the students show up. I still have beef with the student section, like where it's placed, not the actual students, where they've got it. They need to do something with that. I don't know. But, if the crowd shows up, they might have an impact. They might, maybe they'll have a little bit of an impact. But Kentucky, I mean, you could look at this game and go, well, okay, they struggled here and they lost at A&M. Maybe Arkansas's got a shot. Whether you want to believe that or not, I don't know. That's Kentucky's gonna beat the Tokens. They're gonna beat the tokens out of our asses like Chuck E. Cheese. King Command, when Calipari got ejected, Bud Walton was rocking. Too bad we still lost. Yeah, they still lost that game. So some people think that was some kind of a strategy. New year, new me. No more trolling. Hogs still make tournament vibes. We best Kentucky by 10. Man. Smelliot is reborn. Okay. So right now, you say that Arkansas, according to the Bart Torvik, Arkansas has a 0.1% chance of making the tournament. So I don't know about that. This was from JC Hoops on Twitter. You guys know him as Jackson Collier. It's been a historic season for Arkansas basketball. Worst loss in Bud Walton arena history. Worst home loss in program history was to SMU in 1957, records only dating back to 47-48. Worst loss ever to Auburn. Again, this was just all based off that. Third worst loss to South Carolina, worst since 2016. Second worst loss to Ole Miss, worst since 1973. I mean, updated net rankings right now. You've got Tennessee at 4, Bama at 7, Auburn at 8. Yeah, 3 top 10 teams on the net. This is from Wednesday, by the way. A&M at 39. I'm a little surprised by that. Mississippi State at 42. I'm very surprised by that. Florida 43. South Carolina at 51. Also surprised by that. So, yeah, Arkansas is all the way down at 127 in the net. Just one spot behind Missouri, who's at 126. Vanderbilt's at 234. And you do get Vanderbilt this year at home. So, yeah, the Hogs definitely smelt it and dealt it this year. Tercer says, does game day decide their weekend stops before the season starts? That's the only reason they'd come. I don't know. I think so. I think they plan those out. I think, well, maybe not before the season, but I think like weeks before. I think it's what I've been told. The tokens. That was a good comment, Matt. It's gonna sound. You're gonna hear those. It's gonna sound like you're walking into a casino with all the winning sound effects from the slot machines. It's just gonna be like cha-ching 3, cha-ching easy 2, cha-ching easy 2, cha-ching. Is it possible to make the NCAA tournament if you win the SEC tournament regardless of conference record? Actually, we've had this discussion before. I don't know. That's a good question. Someone who knows, I don't know, man. No, I don't think so. I know there is such a thing as automatic bids, right? In baseball, right? It's like an automatic bid in baseball. I don't think so, because you can't go 2-16. It's an auto bid. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It is an auto bid. Damn, that's right. We had this conversation last year. I always get that mixed up. I think it is an automatic bid. Oh, my God. That's right. Yeah, that's right. It is an auto bid. You're right. That's my bad. How often has that ever happened, though, where you're this bad and you're an auto bid? How often does that happen? Where you're this level of bad, you somehow find a way to get to the tournament and win. I guess it's just never crossed my mind. That's crazy. It is an auto bid. You're right. My best them by 10 in turnovers, maybe. Yeah, I just, again, I don't like this matchup. I don't like this game. I mean, for obvious reasons, Arkansas's been so bad on so many levels this year, and it's so hard. It's so hard to fathom just how bad things have gotten. And Kentucky, listen, again, they're littered with first round talent. You know, Zvonimir, I cannot say that dude's name. Big Z, this dude, if he gets some minutes, he's going to be a problem for anybody. Go watch his highlight videos. This dude's a lot of fun to watch. He got 10 minutes in their game against South Carolina. He had 3 points, 2 boards, 2 blocks. Not bad. Not bad, even if it was just 10 minutes. But yeah, Kentucky, again, one of the best offenses in the country. It's one of the best offenses Calipari's had on the floor. And it's one of, I think it's probably one of his best rosters he's had from top to bottom. You know, they'll rotate probably about 8 to 9 players. That's their typical rotation. They could play with size. They could kind of do whatever they want from an offensive standpoint. Defensively, they're average. At best, maybe slightly above average, but they're not a great defensive team. And again, that's one of the things that holds them back. They're number 1 in the country. Okay, this is an updated list here. They've got them at, so ESPN says they're number 2, and I think NCAA stat rankings has them as the number 1 offense. I mean, we get it. They're the best offense in the country. Their scoring defense, however, really bad. They're about 77 points given up, 305th in the country. That's just 2 spots or 4 spots in front of Arkansas, who's at 309, averaging 77.5 points given up. Top 10 in assists. I mean, you just go down the list here. They're a top 10 3-point percentage scoring team at 40%. Arkansas, I mean, no surprise here, hovering around 32.3. They're a not bad free throw shooting team. They're 50th in the country, just above 75%. Arkansas at 71%. Again, pretty average rebounding team, which is, you know, it's probably more to do with the style of play than anything because they've got plenty of size. They should be better on the boards than they are, but they're 90th in the country there. They're a pretty good shot blocking team, too. They're top 10 in the country. Again, they've got length. They've got some size. And they're a pretty average steals per game kind of team. They're 67th in the country at 8 steals per game. This is an area, too, that's been frustrating for Arkansas, especially with a guy like Devo, who's someone who could rack up steals and showed that at times last year. We haven't seen that this year. We haven't seen much of anything this year. So, again, you look at their starting 5, probably going to be Justin Edwards, Antonio Reeves, Wagner, Bradshaw, and Mitchell. Now, Mitchell's their 6'9", senior, 6'9", 231 pounds per game. He's getting 6'9", 231 pounds, getting about 34 minutes per game. Bradshaw's a 7-footer, 7'1", 226 pounds. He's getting about 5 boards per game and about a block a game. Wagner and Reeves and Edwards, these are 3 very talented guards, very, very talented guards. High ceilings for all 3 of these guys. Again, I mean, you're looking at multiple first-round picks just in the starting 5 alone. And we just talked about the Croatian kid who could also be – he could be a first-rounder with very few minutes played this year. He's a really good player. Austin went and got his Sonic. He went and got his bacon peanut butter. Yeah. He got the Sonic bacon peanut butter and what was it? Banana milkshake. Man, everything about that sounds great until you add. I mean, I love bacon. I just don't know that I want it in my milkshake. You know, who the hell wants ice cream who wants their bacon in their ice cream? Not me. I'm good. Yeah. So Kentucky again, really sound team offensively. They can kind of do a little bit of everything, and we already talked about their starting lineup. But again, they've got guys that can come off the bench and can just shred you to pieces. Yeah, Bradshaw is another guy. Someone just tagged me about Bradshaw. Bradshaw's getting 7 points, 5 boards, averaging 20 minutes a game. Again, Antonio Reeves is the guy, 43% outside. He's 88% at the free throw line. He's shooting almost 51%. Guys, it's gonna. I just don't think Arkansas can keep this within 20. I think Kentucky's going to walk in here and do exactly something similar to what Auburn did. The only thing that holds them back is their defense. Again, we could talk about what happens when you play like you did against Purdue, play like you did against Duke, whatever. Sure, but the problem is since conference play, they've not come anywhere near close to that. So yeah, I would bet to say that this is probably going to be an absolute routing. I don't know. Rob Dillingham, by the way, that's another guy that's looked at as a first rounder. They've also got Trey Mitchell, their forward, He's 6'9", 231 pounds, who 13, almost 14 points a game, averaging close to 8 boards, 54% shooter, 6'9", 231 pounds. Yeah, I mean, they're just, they got all kinds of talent, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. We're going to shock the world tomorrow, says Hair the Dog. What would you do with the rotations? Now, I don't know. I got an idea. You got a blindfold and a dartboard. That's what I would do. I don't know. I don't know what the right rotation is anymore. I have no idea. I mean, I would probably want to play big against Kentucky, but the bigs for Arkansas have been trash. They've been bad. No one's been good. Although at your best, you've seen some pretty decent guard play. I'd like to see Blocker get some more minutes. I don't know. Maybe you play Fall. You let Bay Fall play down close to the rim. I don't know. I don't know what I would do with rotation anymore. I have no idea. You know, Minifield can't play physical. He can't play if the game gets, he's the minute you match him up against someone who's got a little bit of weight on him and they're a little bit more aggressive, his defense just completely flounders. I don't know. It's your guess is as good as mine. But I do think they need to play Blocker more. You got to have, I don't know if is Brazil going to play tomorrow? I think that's who ESPN would like to see. Tremont Mark, who apparently did miss practice going into their last game. Fall needs time. Fall needs time. Can't play was worse than the other. Well, I mean, he does need time. He needs to add weight. I agree with that, but at this point, you're kind of desperate because Brazil. By the way, I was looking at mock draft lists, and Brazil's draft stock is tanking, and I know that comes as no surprise, but I mean it is tanking. Bleacher Report has him, I think, at 42 overall. Yahoo Sports didn't have him in the first round. There was one site that I saw that did have him in the first round, but they had him at like the 28th overall pick. You know, and that's not surprising to anybody. He probably will be a first-round pick just based on, again, we talk about it all the time, the NBA is all about potential. It's remarkable how good Minifield, Illis, and Davenport were at their previous schools. And, you know, we've seen tidbits of Davenport and Minifield. We certainly thought there for a while Minifield was going to be, you know, all that in a bag of Doritos. And again, he just gets yanked really quick because of his defense. It is what it is at this point. Rumors are circulating that the locker room issues are because Muss is in talks with other schools. Little clues the players are picking up on. Well, listen, I've said before, it feels like he's moved on, but I mean mentally with this team. It could be, and I think a lot of fans jump to that conclusion, like, oh, they're bad this year and he's checked out, and that's why things are this bad because someone else is knocking on the door to come grab him. I don't know. I mean, anything's possible. I don't like the way that extension was the extension to Eric Musselman certainly seemed like all the Muss holds all the chips with that contract extension, if I read that right. The buyout's not real big, but contracts can be a little technical, and there's things in there that don't always see the light, and things that we just skip over that apparently mean a lot to coaches. And I don't know. I certainly at first glance did not like that contract extension that Hunter gave him. I could see him leaving, but I've always said if he left, it would be for a West Coast team. I don't know. Like, I've heard Louisville. We have people in chat that are convinced he's going to go to Louisville because it's the better job. Well, right now, outside of this year, I don't know that Louisville is the better job. I really don't. Like, I know this year it's real easy to say all these other jobs are so much better than Arkansas. Look at how bad we are. This is 1 year. You can't overlook what we've done the previous 3 seasons. You can't overlook that. I mean, we're hanging banners. We don't hang banners because we make the tournament. We hang banners when we get past the second round of the tournament, and Muss was able to do that here. I'm not buying that, and I'm not saying Louisville hangs banners, by the way, for making the tournament. Louisville is a very good program. Historically, they are. I think they have. I've glanced at their Final Four appearances. I mean, they're a really sound program, but I don't know that right now they're a better job. So maybe there is a distraction out there. Maybe there is something to that. I don't know. I hope not. I mean, I don't know that you could do much better. Now, if you guys who are telling me Cronin's out at UCLA and Muss heads out west to UCLA, all right, we'll bring Cronin here. I'd be all right with that. Fall needs playing time. Can't play any worse. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. UCLA for Muss. Yeah, again, that's been – I've had fans come in here and tell me that that's the move, that Cronin's out. And they're not firing Cronin, man. They're not firing Cronin. I mean, he took them to, it wasn't that long ago. They made a Final Four appearance under him in a Sweet 16. UCLA has a different set of standards. We know all about UCLA, right? But they're not going to fire Cronin. He's got at least another year, at least. Brazil hasn't had played since the Duke game. He hasn't played well since the Duke game. Okay. Everyone just needs to shut up and ball. Honcho says Louisville is not a better job than Arkansas. Well, I mean, historically they are. Yeah, historically they are. But not by much. It's like very slim. But right now, again, I don't think it's the better job. If Muss has taken this season because he's checked out, to me, it ruins everything he's done here. Well, I've only said that that's what it feels like. Nobody knows that he's checked out. I mean, I'm going to tell you, based on reports from people who are around him at practice, who have seen him practice, either it's former players or whatever media members, he doesn't take practice off. It's just in his post game and the way he talks with the media. Sometimes I don't know. And even on the court, like, we don't really see him. I don't know. I mean, he still gets fiery. Let's not get it twisted. He still gets a little fired up. Because that's who he is. But he just seems like, to me, like someone who's, based on, when you look at how desperate they are when they dive into their rotation, it's like he's trying to throw everything on the wall just to see what sticks. And we've just never really seen him in this position before, not to this extent. And it feels like he's kind of thrown his hands up a little bit, and you've heard him say it. He said it multiple times. This team isn't, the things that stick with the previous teams are not sticking with this team. He has said this multiple times. So it just has that feeling that maybe he's kind of done everything he feels like he can do, and maybe mentally he's already getting prepared for next year. I don't know that should erase everything he's done here, Philip. That seems like a bit of a overreaction, man. These dudes don't have any heart. Well, I've never seen a team so bad in transition, on whether it's offensive or defensive. Like, they're bad. It seems like they get to their spots real late. We used to complain about how often they leave their feet out in the perimeter when they go to guard someone trying to take a look outside, and they're a little late, so they leave their feet. Well, now it's like they don't even have to do that. They're just the effort and the energy just never seems to be there, and it's very disappointing. Ty, you're probably going to need to take an Uber to my house on Saturday. Yeah, don't read the comments. We'll oh, you've changed it to media. Don't read the comments, media. When did that happen, Travis? All right. Don't read the comments media. We're gonna record that pod tonight, and then I'll be back over there tomorrow. I'm gonna bring some Odd Soul pizza. I'm really excited for that. What happened to effort, enthusiasm, energy? It's checked out. It's checked out for a while. I mean, it just has. It kind of you have that loss to Oklahoma, and then you have the ugly wins. You had the ugly first half performance against Lipscomb, a game where, I mean, you could have lost that game. Isn't that crazy? Abilene Christian, you beat by 10. UNC Wilmington, a team that, again, you talk about a weird loss for a team. They went on the road inside Rupp and did beat Kentucky. And listen, they're right now riding a 5-game win streak. Not that really does much for Arkansas, but I mean they beat they're on a 5-game win streak after losing 3 straight. They lost on the road to Arkansas at Drexel and at Towson. But they haven't really. No one's doing you any favors because right now you just are what you are. You've dug yourself in your own deep hole, deep, depressing, sad hole. Yeah. So I don't know, man. And then you're on the road against, after this, you're on the road against Missouri, on the road against LSU, then you're back home against Tennessee and Georgia. I don't know. What do you guys think? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you've got Tennessee at home, at Mississippi State. How many wins do you see left in conference play for Arkansas? I mean, that's the other question. And I kept looking at this last night, and I was like, all right, Missouri's bad. Missouri's really bad. I mean, they're atrocious. They're 0-6, 8-11 overall. This is a horrible Missouri team. Isn't it fun, though? That's the only good part about any of this. Like, Arkansas's down, and they're down bad, but at least it's fun to watch Missouri lose also. It makes – don't get me wrong, I'm still ass hurt over what we're seeing with Arkansas. It still sucks. But Missouri sucks even worse. So maybe you've got a shot at sweeping them this year. If both these teams played at their best, Arkansas would still run them off the floor. So I don't know what happens when they both play their worst. Does the building just collapse? Both these teams are so bad, and I just didn't see this coming. I think it speaks to the transfer portal. I really do. It's wild, and it's why I'm not going to do too early. I know it's apples and oranges when you're talking football and basketball, but it's why I'm not going to do it too early for football. Think of all the too early votes last year, right, coming out of spring camp, and look how many of those that were just dead wrong. So in basketball, there is no other sport that gets impacted by the portal like basketball. It's not even close. You can completely – I mean, just like Arkansas has done year in and year out for the most part under Musselman, they've just completely – they hit the reset button about every year. And eventually it catches up to you, and you have a 1-5 start in conference play. So, yeah. Oof. Let's see. Y'all going to get hammered. I don't know what we're going to end up doing. It's going to be – we haven't even decided what we're going to do, like our drinking game. Deep, depressive, sad hole. Yeah, it says it all, Ty. I don't know why. YouTube's not letting me scroll down. I'm going to have to refresh this page. Let me refresh here. Oh, there it goes. Okay. The difference is that Mizzou fans are still riding high from their football season. Well, that's what makes all this so fun. Is that they go from having this great football year to having an abysmal basketball year. And then you got them in baseball, too. I think they're coming to bomb, right? Ugh. I want to sweep them in both those sports. The Royal Rumble on Saturday as well starts at 7 Central. Probably a little bit more entertaining. Well, Arkansas's not at 7, though. Arkansas will be at 5 p.m., so it'll be happening after the game. The glory of the 2021 season seems so long ago. Enthusiasm is infectious, discipline is unselfish, and defense is effort. Very well said, David. Very well said, sir. We stole Mizzou's top baseball player, too. This is Austin. I want to know if you think NIL has ruined the effort of competitiveness in the game. It just seems players don't want it as much anymore. It's also the portal players give up and leave. Okay, that's a really good question. I mean, of course, the NIL, okay, it's like when you get these guys in the league, in the NFL, or even in baseball. I don't know if you can really say the same about. I mean, I'm sure you can with basketball too in the NBA, but definitely in the NFL, you've seen guys get these massive contract extensions after a solid or unbelievable start to their careers. Right, their first couple of years coming out of their rookie contracts. All of a sudden, they sign these big extensions, and all of a sudden, that effort's gone. Like that level of play is gone. And I don't know. I've always kind of thought that maybe the extension, they got the bag, right? They reached what they believe to be the top of the mountain financially with what they can do within their career. So, of course, I think NIL could be responsible for some of this. You see it in baseball. You see these pitchers get crazy contract extensions, and all of a sudden they're losing innings on the mound, or they're not playing as often, or whatever. It happens all the time, and it's like you reach a moment in your career, but you've also had the reverse effect of that, where guys have come out and done really well after signing their extensions. But it just seems like you as someone who's kept up with the league, and obviously being a Rams fan, and I've seen it time and time again where guys get these big deals, and all of a sudden the following season they just drop off the face of the earth, and you don't see that level of well, they're not piling up on the stat sheet like they once were, and then you watch them play and you wonder about effort. Yeah, I think NIL could absolutely be doing that in college. I don't know, because I can't read their minds. I don't know. It could certainly be something that's happening, and it's really I think it probably is happening, but I can't read their minds. I think it's just there's so much with this team. There's so many things wrong with this team. And it's just so disappointing, because we really thought this could be Muss's best team. We really thought that this could be the best product on the floor that we've seen since he's been here. A potential Final Four caliber team, and they look the polar opposite of that. And it's just kind of crazy to think about. So, yeah, I mean, naturally you want to throw out NIL and all that stuff as being a part of what's going on. Also, I think it could just be team chemistry. It could be players just pissed off at each other. It could be players not responding to Musselman's coaching. It could be to stuff going on just in the locker room in general. It could be off the floor stuff that we just have no idea about, and things we won't hear about until after the season, or until, several years later when these players are on podcasts and we're hearing all about what went down. Really, it's coming. It's coming, guys. Just get ready for it. It could be. It really could be all the above, right? But I do think, yeah, NIL could be playing a major role. I was watching Pot at the Palace. Those guys think it's a good idea. Those guys think it's a good idea to get the guys who balled on Arkansas. Is that a compliment? Considering everyone has balled on Arkansas, you can't get them all. Arkansas versus Mizzou will be so mid that it causes a tear in the fabric of reality. A black hole appears. Both teams are absorbed, and the world suddenly becomes a better place. That's it right there, bro. Boss nailed it down, man. Oh, no. A black hole just swallows everybody up. Oh, it's so, yeah. I'm just saying, the past seasons there was always video or photos of Muss and the guys hanging out and building chemistry. We haven't seen that this year, says Philip White. Again, Philip, I don't know. You said earlier that if he's mentally moved on, then that erases all the success that he's had here. And I just don't agree. I think that's – I mean, I get what you're saying, and I understand anyone who comes from that point of thought. I get it, or that point of view. Yeah, I mean, that certainly makes you wonder, like, well, wait a minute. Why would – and let's hope that that's not what's happening. Again, I'm not a mind reader. It just feels that way to me. But also, again, I've heard that Muss – his practices are still what they've always been, and so I don't know, but I'm certainly, again, I don't think anything about this year should erase what he's done the previous 3 years. Scrolling down here. The most disappointing thing about this team is the people that's been on this team is not playing to the standards and level they were playing last year. Yeah, I mean, some of these guys were just straight up ballers, I mean, they were great, and then they come here, and that could be part of what's going on here, right? They're not the guy. They're no longer the guy. It's somebody else. Or nobody, really, other than maybe Tremont Mark. How many fans walk out of the UK game before the 16-minute mark? That's a good question. If it gets really bad. Where else is this? Oh, okay. I can't read that part. What type of player does Muss go for next? We've tried the 6'7" athletic defensive guys that can quote unquote score. I like that. I like how you put that in quotes because you're not wrong. Yeah, they were supposed to be high level scores. Maybe we missed on some bigs this year and it's showing. Yeah, I made that point the other night about how it seems to me like they put an emphasis on grabbing some scoring guards, maybe a little bit too much. Not that he didn't recruit. Someone took that as Arkansas didn't recruit bigs. That's not what I said at all. In fact, I covered who Arkansas went after. They did go after some bigs, and they did lose out on some bigs. Maybe I just think he put more of an emphasis on grabbing guys that could score. Maybe he left defense out of his mind and just thought, well, my system will work. We'll mold these guys into better defenders. Maybe that's something that crossed his mind when he was out scouting these guys, when he was watching film. Let's see. Muss has that Houston Nutt ability to beat teams he has no business beating. Yeah. And listen, that might have been Duke. Right, that might have been Duke. That might have been the one thing we did this year. That's like, oh, we showed up and we beat that one team that we had no business beating, and that's it. And maybe we don't see that again, or maybe they can do that tomorrow at 5 p.m. Thank God that's not an 8 p.m. Oh God, that'd be brutal. But yeah, maybe they could do it again when they play at their best. They could go toe to toe with anybody in the country if they could find the chemistry, if they can get the rotation down. If these guys show a little bit more effort, if the defense can finally pull its weight, if the offense, well, I don't know, if they could find anything, if they could find anything on offense, they just keep sliding further and further back offensively as a team. It's crazy to think that up until last week they were a top 6 scoring offense in the SEC. And they're just going to continue to drop and drop and drop. But yeah, maybe that team that did beat Purdue and did beat Duke could show up. And if you ever saw that consistently, yeah, they're gonna win some games. I just don't think it happens. Again, I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. It's the likelihood of them doing that, of them stringing together some wins. It's just, they're not going to make the tournament. I've already put the pen to paper on that. If Muss checked out, where do we go from here? Transfers and high school players. Again, I'm not saying I don't want anyone to think that is 100% what I believe. It just seems that way. But if he did check out and if he is moving on to next season, I really hope he makes an effort to keep Bay Fall, Blocker. I forget who else has eligibility out of the transfers. I think Tremont Mark has another year. I want to say Battle has another year. I don't know. Maybe Battle's part of the problem. I don't know. Brazil's gone. I mean, no matter what, I think Brazil's gone. And based on the effort we've gotten out of him this year, I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I think he's a great player. I think he'll do well in the NBA. But right now, he's just not meshing with these guys. He's been one of the biggest surprises in terms of bad play this year, him and Devo both. The most disappointing thing is that they have gotten worse throughout the years, just J-Dog. Yeah, you're not wrong. The Must Bus blew out all of his tires, says Brett, but this man is a good coach. This year doesn't erase the past 3 years of what he did at Nevada. And let's see, what he needs is a Corey Beck type who will demand. I don't know what the rest of that. But yeah, I agree with that. I think they are. I don't know what happened to Devo being the guy. You remember Minifield saying that Devo was the guy that he looked up to. Where's the team leader at? You know, who's leading these guys? And if it's Devo, then what is he doing? TB will be a Celtic. He's projected all over the place. I mean, again, Bleacher Report has him out of the top round. Yahoo Sports has him out of the top round. I forgot the other site that did have him still, and I didn't look at them all. I haven't checked out NBC Sports yet. Yard Barker still has him in. Yard Barker, and they're pretty good. Follow on Twitter. Have Petrino drop some plays for these guys. Yeah, somebody needs to figure out the offensive end of the floor. Actually drop some set plays. I agree. All right, that's going to do it. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember, I will be live tomorrow with Don't Read the Comments. I don't know what I did with their – oh, here it is. I'll be live with these guys tomorrow, so be sure you go check that out. Don't Read the Comments. Media. They don't call themselves podcasts anymore. They call it media. But I'll be hanging out with Travis and Tim. I'm always looking forward to that. We always have a good time. We're going to watch the game together. We're going to stream. It's going to be a watch party, stream companion, whatever you want to call it. We'll be doing that tomorrow. It'll be a lot of fun. Remember, 5 p.m. tip-off. So, yeah. Good times. All right. I think that's really it. Oh, we didn't do shout-out to sponsors. Of course, Direct Service Overhead, the Garage Door Company. Same-day services, quality parts, affordable outcomes. Give them a call today. Their link is also provided for you down below. Remember, it's same-day services. If you need some repair or whatever, they've got you covered. 501-244-3667. Again, that's Direct Service Garage Doors. And, of course, the Odd Soul Craft Bar and Pizzeria located on Emma Street in Springdale. We're going to eat some of their pizza tomorrow. Really excited about that while we're watching the game. So, yeah, but they're on Emma Street in Springdale. Great pies, great staff, great environment. IPAs on tap, you name it, they've got you covered. I've got their menu in Discord. If you want to go check out their menu and you happen to be in town this weekend for the game, hey, why not go to the Odd Soul afterwards or maybe before the game? Maybe go eat some lunch or something. But they've got you covered over at the Odd Soul. Tell them Ty sent you. All right? Okay. I'm going to try and relight this cigar, grab me some lunch, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. You guys be good. God, this squeaky chair. I hate it.